Melbourne Rebels versus the New South Wales Waratahs, round 5, Super Rugby Australia 2021. Okay, before we start, if you're watching this video, okay, before you turn off this video, please do me a favor. If you know someone that maybe knows someone who works at the Melbourne Rebels, please tell them to change the name. It's Victoria Rebels. Every Australian team represents their state, not just a city. We name our teams after our states. Okay? This is not New Zealand. They name their teams after the cities in New Zealand. And last time I checked, Victoria is not the Western Isle of New Zealand. It's part of the Commonwealth of Australia. So the name should follow our naming traditions, which is Victoria Rebels. Okay? Please, now, if you know someone who may know someone who might know someone, tell them. Tell them to call up people at the Rebels and say, hey, we represent the state of Victoria, not just the city, okay? Not just the rich people in the city. We represent the entire state. Let's get the name changed and let's get this right. Okay, now you can thumbs down this video and close it. This was a really good play, really good game for the Melbourne Rebels. Okay, the name aside, I'm gonna start calling them the Victoria Rebels. The Victoria Rebels has actually played a really really good game. They've capitalized a lot of the opportunities and came up with a win. The Waratahs actually had just as many opportunities to score as the Rebels. So despite the score and despite the score difference, it was actually pretty close in terms of possessions and territory. So if we just look at the match stats, the Waratahs actually ran more meters. Waratahs had 407 meters, whereas the Rebels only has 364. So the Waratahs actually had more ball for the entire game, but they weren't able to capitalize due to just like inexperience. So the Rebels actually had to do most of defense as well. The Rebels made 146 tackles, whereas Waratahs 95. So the Waratahs definitely had a lot more chances at running at the ball, and they just kept making mistakes like drop balls, getting turned over because getting turned over at the breakdown, and just mistakes in their own scrums, getting tight head turned over in their own scrums, and just small mistakes like that really stifle any opportunities that the Waratahs were able to get points. And also at the start of the game, the Waratahs put Jack Maddox up to be the kicker because Will Harrison has like a hip injury or something, so he's playing, but he's just like, maybe he's probably got a sore hip or something, and then he's just not able to. He just doesn't want to kick. Maybe his accuracy is really low for kicking. So they put Jack Maddox on for the kicking, and right from the kickoff, the ball just went didn't go 10 meters and bounced out of the sideline. Right? It's just like and then about 5 minutes in, there was an opportunity to kick a penalty right in front, and he just skewed it. He's very inexperienced. I wouldn't say that he's bad, but I think he never really, I'm sure he would be hitting those in training, but under the pressure, under the bright lights, Jack Maddox wasn't able to just miss the most basic, simple kicks. So there was just small mistakes like that, really piled up throughout the game for the Waratahs, and the Rebels were able to pull away. Another thing that overall the Rebels 4-pack really played well. Just about, I would say, 40% better than the Waratahs forwards for most of the game. In fact, for the entire game. There were so many turnovers where the Waratahs forwards the forwards were there, but they weren't clinical on their clean-outs, and Rebels just ripped the ball so many times and turned the ball over. There was a there was I think there was a line out. There was a few line out mistakes for Waratahs. There was definitely a couple of really big turnovers in the scrum for the Rebels. And again, just the Rebels forwards were just better on today over the Waratahs. So it's really disappointing for the Tars, but there is a lot they can build on. Let's have a look at the actual what happened. So right from the start, like I said, the kickoff was horrendous. Rebels got the ball and kind of like start putting pressure onto the Waratahs after they got the ball from the kickoff. So they actually got the ball back from the center field. So you can just, I think they changed the rules. Instead of a scrum, you get a tap and go for if the ball didn't go 10 meters or went out from the kickoff. So they got a tap and go right from the start, and they're putting a lot of pressure on. And 5 minutes in, there was a penalty. Tamura converts it. Waratahs had a chance to come back right after this, and this is where Maddox missed his first kick, and it was just looked shocking. Not long after that, the Victoria Rebels, really put the squeeze on, and there was this. I think this was this was a line out. This is this line out. I think they did this move against the Western Force. Against the Western Force last week. I think it was the Western Force. They did this move last week. And yeah, they did this move against Western Force where he scored. And this is another one where it's pretty much the identical line out. Around the halfway mark, ball comes in, goes, and then there was just... it didn't go over the top this time. They kind of just had a pot crash down... had a forward crash down the first run. And then... suck some defenders in, slow down the drift from the Waratahs forward from the line out. So all the forwards coming out of the line out weren't able to drift. They have to kind of like commit to the ruck area right from the first forward that crashed from the Rebels, and then the Rebels kind of just got the ball and then spun it out wide. It was just like a beautiful play. There was a cutout, and then there was like a dummy back. Dummy kind of back, like a switched back. I don't know what's it called. So like a player will running and they would turn around and pass the ball, and the guy who passes the ball to the receiver, and the receiver kind of turns around and offloads the ball back onto the guy that attacks and loops around. And then when they do that, you get an extra person basically. And the Waratahs defense at this point was just scattered all over the place. And basically there were just hands along all the way to the sideline, and then there was. Yeah, basically the Waratahs weren't actually tackling very well as well. So Anderson goes over for a try. Tamura converts the try, and that was the first try of the game. And after that, the Waratahs really looked down in this period. They have like no confidence. They literally just like the Rebels had a lot of possessions in territory. And there was a lot of like silly mistakes being made by the 4-pack at this point. So 2 penalties were given away, and Tamura converted both of them quite easily for another 6 points. And then just before halftime at 37th minute, there was a ruck, and the halfback passed the ball to Tamura. And there was just like a wall of forwards in front of Tamura. And then Tamura was just like, all right. Instead of running to his left, he just turned around and did a switch to run to the right. And the forwards coming up from the ruck on the right-hand side were just coming up too quickly because they didn't expect Tamura to just suddenly turn around and started running down the right-hand side. So these forwards were kind of coming up, and Tamura just did a dummy, and one of the forwards just completely like sold it. First of all, he wasn't like... He ran too far up anyway, so he was out of position to catch Tamura. And then the fact that he did hit a dummy, and he was just like, he just didn't look like he was expecting Tamura to run the ball himself at all. And then Tamura just runs straight down the side of the ruck. There was no one there on the right-hand side marking the pillar position. And he just ran down. And the one of the wingers swept around to try to catch him. So Tamura did a little chip kick over the top, and then the fullback come up to try to catch try to catch him, and the ball bounced up. Tamura caught it, and the fullback just like waved this around, didn't do it. He didn't make a tackle or touch the ball, so it looked really bad from the Waratahs point of view for that one as well. So he cannot came in, and then like he looked like he ran too fast to either catch to catch the ball or to tackle Tamura when he caught the ball. So he just like ran past him and didn't do anything to Tamura. And Tamura kept running. The number 9 kind of caught him from the Waratah side, but he was too close to and crashed over for a try. And Tamura, he converts his own try, and that was the last point that was scored before halftime. So going in halftime, the Rebels were 23 points to 0. Okay, the Waratahs is just way down, and the commentators were saying like you need a performance from the Reds from the last week to catch up to a deficit like this, right? Like the Reds were able to come back from a 17-point deficit to win the game, and it was just it's not like undoable, especially when you have you have the possessions, you have the opportunities. You can definitely turn that into points. So second half started, the Waratahs definitely came out with a bit more intensity and really played a lot harder. But again, they're just mistakes, just costing them drop balls, and the forwards not being at the breakdown to secure the ball has again and again and again caused turnovers for the Rebels, for the Waratahs. But the Rebels weren't off the hook there either. So the Rebels were making similar mistakes as well, but in a lot less, like a much reduced rate, and not really like in critical times. Like the Waratahs seems to just, the Rebels will, drop the ball in the, around the halfway point or something, right? And then the Waratahs will drop the ball when they're like 5 meters out from the try line. Like that's like kind of like the story of the day. So there was so many like penalties and mistakes from the Waratahs just by being under tremendous amount of pressure. And it got to a point where the Tahs weren't just taking any risks. Like it was just like they were about 10 minutes out from the try line at one point, and it was just like forwards pick and drive, forwards pick and drive, forwards pick and drive, forwards pick and drive, forwards. It was like 8 phases of just forwards pick and drive. Like the backs didn't even do it, just had a break for like 8 phases. And then eventually, somehow, the Rebels turns it over. Like it's just how, like, that's not supposed to happen. If you have the ball with your forward supporting you, there shouldn't be any reason for the opposition to get their hands on the ball when you go to the ground, when your support players, like there's like 3 support players right behind you. Like there's no reason for that. It's just a pure technique issue. Right? There's no reason for you to not able to like secure the ball when you're literally like driving them forward, driving the ball carrier forward right behind them. There's no reason for you to not able to secure the ball when he goes to the ground. Like it's just 100% like a technique issue. Waratahs just needs to get, I don't know, someone to teach him how to play rugby. Maybe like a high school coach, you probably teach him how to do that proper. But like, yeah, it's just really, really disappointing and frustrating to watch. And then the Rebels had another opportunity. They had another penalty at 55-minute mark, and it was a really long distance kick. So Hodge took over, took the kick, took the penalty goal, and then the Rebels had and then at the 66-minute mark, the Rebels had a line out, and then it was had a line out around 5 minutes, just bit out of 5 minutes, like 7 minutes out, pretty close to the Waratahs try line, and it was just the more, and then Ulesi, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he just like scores under the sticks. Ulesi, is it his name? Ulesi? Yeah, Jordan Ulesi. He's I think he's a hooker. Anyway, so he scores under the sticks. He scores by the try line. Hodge took this kick as well. hit the points. I think Tamura's off the field at this point. He's taken off the field, and at this point, it's 10 minutes left in the game, and all the commentators and everybody is saying like, Waratahs. At this point, it's still 0 on the board for Waratahs, and everyone's just like, well, you got to really like take these tough lessons and try to push yourself out and try to get yourself back into the game. So the Waratahs in the last 10 minutes with the fresh reserves on the field actually looked a lot better. Looked like they were out to play. And it was kind of like the things where the gloves are off. Let's go for it. Let's try see what we can do. And lo and behold, 76th minute, it was just a classic, just very simple stuff. Just draw and pass, a classic play where it's just like draw and pass all the way to the sideline, and then the player sideline passes back in when the winger comes out to try to take him out. Passes back in, and then a quick hand again from the player inside him to the second player that was the second support player that was following. So just basically like hands. And then it was just space right in front of Williams, who's the person who got the ball at this point, and he just ran down and scored close to the sideline, but he just scored. And the first, lo and behold, the first time, the Waratahs pretty much in the whole game decided to not just get the forwards to pick and drive, or just do like one-off passes. It's just space everywhere. Create big space, big gap. The first try for the Waratahs, and at this point, Edmund is a reserve. Cameron Edmund, I think he plays I think he plays 15 or 11. But anyway, there's a new player on the field, Edmund. He's taken over the kicking duties from Maddox, and despite the fact this is on the sideline, kind of like 5 meters in, he kicks it sweet down the middle. So the first try was converted. So it's 7 points to 33. And then at this point, you kind of just like, this is probably over. The Waratahs had like an opportunity where they had a scrum. They had a full-on penalty. They really want to score. So they had a full-on penalty right in front of the goal sticks. And instead of like opting for a line-out, they opted for a scrum. I'm guessing because the line-out wasn't going so well. So they opted for scrum, and this scrum wasn't going that well either, but it is a little bit safer than the line-out, I'm guessing. But the Rebels just like destroy them and turn the ball over, and you're just like, oh, come on. It's like, you're 10 meters out, you just lost a tight head. This is where you just like, the forwards in the Waratahs really needs to work on their techniques. Like it's no reason. It's like, in terms of size, you're not smaller than the Rebels players. It's when it comes to a lot of the stuff that you do in the forwards, you're in a professional level, your size and strength difference is not that great, especially as like a pack. The overall strength of across 8 different people is not that great. It's just all technique. So it's being able to secure ball at breakdown, being able to just have a steady scrum. Line-out throws. Yeah, there was just like line-out throws where it's just like not straight. Like, you throw the ball, just didn't even go anywhere in the middle. So just like absolute amateur mistakes from the Waratahs forwards. And yeah, it's just pretty much kill them. Like, they just need to work on these little things. Like, they should just, I don't know, just drill. Just all of this are technique. There's nothing to do with fitness. There's nothing to do with strength, it's just all technique. You just have to drill it again and again. And then you'll be fine. Like the overall, like the fact that the Waratahs had more possession than the Rebels, it just tells you like it's not that much worse than the Rebels. They're just as good as the Rebels. But it's just their basic technique that's not really paying off for them. Anyway, on the last minute of the game, the Rebels were looking like they're gonna probably score again. They're inside the 22. There was a scrum. I think they were attacking. The ball knocked on, so there was a Waratah scrum. And again, the Waratah scrum looked very shaky. It looked like there was gonna be a tight head. The ball came out, and then there was a bit of a weird thing where the a rebel player kind of went up to try to tackle the halfback, and the halfback kind of like knocks on the ball, but it like bounced off the rebels player's foot or something. It was just bizarre. Like, it should have been knock. First of all, you should have been knock on. Even if it bounces off the opposition player's foot, if the balls travel forward when you're juggling, you travel forward, and then it touches any part of the body of the opposition player or the ground, it's a knock on. But for some reason, the fact that the ball bounced off the guy's foot, the rebel player's foot, and the Waratahs halfback caught it, they're like, it's okay, play on. Like, what? Anyway, that's no. I mean, I think the referee made a mistake, but they're only human. The Waratahs halfback just basically ran down the field. Again, it's just very basic stuff. Like, the fullback comes up, he just kind of draw and pass. He had a support player on his right hand side. And then there was like another guy, winger, coming in, and it's just another draw and pass to Maddox. And Maddox just sprinted down the sideline and scored another try for the Waratahs on the 80th minute of the game. A 75-meter play for a last-minute try. And Edmund, the reserve, came on, put the ball down right from the sideline, and kicks it sweet down the middle for another 2 points. So Edmund's kicking is, I don't know why he wasn't on the field. They should have, if your kicker can't kick, then you should have had Edmund on the field. Even if, at least earlier than just the last 10 minutes. So there was a bit of a misplay from the Waratahs. I mean, Edmund just looked like, he did pretty well for the last 10 minutes. He got 2 conversions, pretty difficult conversions as well. And the final score, 33-14 to the Rebels. So the Rebels definitely let off the gas a little bit in the last 10 minutes. And the Waratahs definitely lifted up the intensity. Yeah, so Waratahs just got to get the forwards, drill, simple stuff. All of these little mistakes can be fixed. Like your, when the Waratahs are attacking with confidence, you look good. Like the last 2 tries you scored look great. Simple stuff, very, very well executed. There was just beautiful rugby, and then it's just the little things that's killing you, especially the forwards, man. Just, I don't know, get everyone together and just like spend 2 days smashing each other over the rocks again and again and again and again and again. Put the body armor on and just smash each other over the rocks again and again and again and again, so that you're never gonna somehow lose the ball with 3 people over the rock to try to, and the ball is not secure, right? So just simple stuff like that definitely can improve. And so hopefully the next game the Waratahs will be able to come back a little better. It's looking like they will be able to, just from the last 10 minutes, the way they played, they really, did some soul searching and try to, make a comeback, which they did. Anyway, that's the review for Super Rugby AU, Melbourne Rebel, Victoria Rebel versus New South Wales Waratahs. Thank you for watching, and cheers.